Greetings, various denizens of the internet, and welcome to the NJCAA Esports Spring Season Overwatch Grand Finals. I'm Funky Monk, I'll be your host and play-by-play for today. Joining me is Dividing and Geo, and you're watching the game between the Blinn Buccaneers and the BSC Bobcats. Dividing, who are these teams?
Straight to the point, huh? Yeah, absolutely. So here at the NJCAA, we are very much focused on the junior colleges, the colleges that offer 2-year programs instead of the 4-year programs. Because of that, oftentimes what ends up happening is these esports programs don't have as much time to grow and develop their players as much as the 4-year counterparts. So they're generally, the level is not quite as good as with the 4-year programs, the people competing in collegiate championship right now as we speak. There are 2 exceptions to this rule, and that is Bryant-Stratton College Bobcats and the Blinn Buccaneers. These 2 teams have been the best 2 teams in NJCAA for a while now. It has not been particularly close between them and the rest of the pack. Last year, they played in this exact grand finals, and it was a Bryant-Stratton win 3-0. So a rivalry has kind of been brewing over the last year. Blinn has really retooled their roster. They're much stronger compared to where they were last season, and they're ready to take it to Bryant-Stratton today and prove that they are the best junior college in the country.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean,
Blinn
it looks like
have been doing incredibly well. Sorry, Funky. Just jumping in there.
No, it's all right.
Blinn Buccaneers, they were undefeated in the regular season, keeping that #1 spot. And Bobcats, they did actually falter a little bit, where we usually see them kind of dominate. Well, they are actually in 3rd place in the regular season. However, both have had absolutely strong playoffs and are again setting up for this rematch here in the grand finals. They know each other pretty well, but also the Bobcats, they're also just off of winning the grand finals over at Mid-Atlantic Esports, so they're looking to set themselves up to be double champions.
Yes, double trouble from BSC Bobcats. It's also worth noting, neither team dropped a single map during their entire bracket run. They're almost on their way to pulling a honeypot, as I'd like to call it. I'd like that to be a thing if a team blazes through a bracket and not without dropping a single map. I think that's a fair term.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it just goes to show you how good both of these teams are compared to the rest of the NJCAA field. These are 2 really solid and established esports programs, and honestly just vying for supremacy in the junior college scene. As of right now, Bryant-Stratton Esports, in my mind, they have the pedigree, they have the past championships. They're literally coming off the high, like you mentioned, Gio, of winning the Mid-Atlantic Esports Conference, like actually an hour ago before this game. But Blinn has been penciling in this matchup all year because they have been remembering how they lost to Bryant-Stratton this time last year, and they really want revenge. I think Blinn are coming into this game as hungry as a team could possibly be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no,
I mean, they're fully inside their revenge arc, you could say. They've been working, they've been training, they're getting their reps up in the gym, and they are ready to take it to the Bobcats, who, yeah, they're warmed up. They are just out of the grand finals, but is there going to be a little bit of fatigue, perhaps? Is that something that the Bobcats need to be aware of? And is that something that the Buccaneers can take advantage of, Funky?
Yeah, I mean, Blinn are certainly looking to retain their unbeaten status in this tournament. They, went 7-0 in the group stages as well, so it could just be a completely clean sweep through the entire tournament for Blinn.
Yeah, but either way, it would be I think both teams coming in this one with the chance at a clean sweep, right? I mean, we got 3-0s across the board. Bryant-Stratton, they beat the Northwest Trappers 3-0s in the semifinals, and then they beat Nova Nighthawks 3-0, and then Blinn is coming in with a 3-0 versus Hawking College, followed by 3-0 against SLCC Esports. So both ways, no matter how you look at it, both of these squads are coming into this one pretty much unscathed. I think this is a situation where I think both these teams have kind of been gearing up for this fight for a while.
Yeah, totally. I mean, like I said, get those reps in on the revenge arc, but I mean, do you need to be on a particular arc if you're the Bobcats, a team that's just continued to be very dominant wherever they go, a very strong and solid team? And with that, I want to talk about kind of the expected roster for the side of the Bobcats. They will be looking to come in with Miro on the tank line, Manually and Gimmickle on the DPS line, and Set and Prota will be coming on the supports. And Bobcats, I have some familiarity with them, and they actually do kind of off-roll sometimes. I doubt we'll see it in the grand finals, but I have seen at least Gimmickle on Zenyatta before, being an absolute menace to society in the backline of a team. But yeah, I think that sort of playstyle is going to continue to benefit Bobcats, that kind of flanky playstyle. On the side of Blinn, for the tank lineup, we have Ginger coming in for the tank, Vader and Swear for the DPS, and Knuckle Bunny and Hutch coming in for the support line dividing. Do you have any notes on these players?
I will say I met Blinn about a month ago when they were playing at the University of Kentucky LAN Invitational, and I was there at that event. I love the Blinn squad. They're a very passionate squad. They were one of the loudest teams there of all the 16 teams that were invited, in a good way. Like very, very passionate. They love being there, and they love winning. Most of all, this team is a little bit silly. I'm not going to say that like they're like running comps willy-nilly, but what they do is they run things a little bit off meta. They like to throw curveballs at their opponents that they're not necessarily expecting. Notably, I saw a lot of Junkrat being played out of Blinn. A lot more than you'd expect in this era of Overwatch. So I'm expecting to see at least a decent amount of Blinn once again.
Well, we're gonna be seeing what Blinn and the BSC Bobcats have to offer. We're gonna go into map 1, which will be Lijiang Tower in just a moment. And, that Junkrat could be incredibly potent on a map like Control Center.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm quite familiar with Junkrat myself, being on a scrim team with a Junkrat, not one trick, but a Junkrat player. And yeah, Junkrat can get a lot done in those kind of brawl situations, especially the tight corridors of, like you said, Control Center. But, still, we're seeing that teams put their flex DPS, or the player that would usually play the Mei on the Junkrat, still get outperformed by the team that has the Mei, because being able to section off the opponent team with that wall is just so strong. It just gives such a benefit to one team over the other. We're getting some word of some bans also dividing, if you'd like to talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Lifeweaver and Esperanza are currently banned from the game. So Lifeweaver, of course, is a new hero that was released a couple of weeks ago. I don't believe it's been in the game long enough where most tournaments are willing to just throw him in for the grand finals matches after the whole playoffs was played without him. So despite how cool some of the Lifeweaver kit is, allowing to give people high ground, save them from tough situations, we will not be seeing anything. Esperanza being banned, I imagine, is because of a bug that was found in the game where you could potentially hide within structures on the map you aren't supposed to be able to hide in, and people might have been abusing that. So that is why we are not going to be seeing that, which means if we end up in a situation where we are on a push map, there's only two options. You can only go with New Queen Street or Coliseo. So I'm very interested to see, like, if we end up getting to that point, where the players are going to want to go with what is essentially going to be a coin flip.
Yeah, I mean, I'm personally a fan of Coliseo in general, but I mean, again, it's the team's personal preferences. I've heard some things about Gimmickle on New Queen Street that Gio was alluding to earlier. So we'll see if that comes to fruition.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the side of Blinn being quite, a communicative team, quite loud and energetic, and a little bit, maybe memey. I've seen qualities of that in the Bobcats before as well.
I don't want to go out here and say that Blinn is memey. I'm not that
Right,
implies
okay.
that they're not going to be taking the game serious. They're definitely taking it serious. They're just a little silly. They're just a little silly.
Right, yeah. Both
and there's a difference.
A little unorthodox.
Taking this seriously. Unorthodox. That's the word. That's the word we'll use. Unorthodox. I'm sure both these teams will be like very serious today. But of course, once you get to those long, prolonged fights where there's no amount of VOD review in the world that can prepare you for it, a little bit of unorthodoxness or silliness actually can help because you're better on the fly. It's all about adaptation in that moment, sort of an improvisation, you could say.
Absolutely, that improvisation is going to be really key. Not only on Blinn's part, but also on Bryant-Stratton's part, because I think when they were playing Shenandoah in the Mid-Atlantic finals, there weren't as many curveballs being thrown their way. They were kind of just able to play their game, and they were able to win that one 3-0. I'm not going to say super easily, because it wasn't, but they were able to kind of play their game, and they played their game better than Shenandoah did, and they came out on top. I think Blinn is going to kind of throw at them a puzzle to solve. They're going to throw at them a different kind of composition. They're going to play it at a higher level than their previous opponents, and they're going to have to force Bryant-Stratton to adapt on the fly in order to beat them.
Indeed, they are. I mean, it's going to be a heck of a match anyways. The teams are readying up now. So we are going to be getting into map number 1, Lijiang Tower, in just a moment. It's just seconds away. But we're going to have to just wait just a tad longer while the lobby fully gets set.
I will say real quick, we're going in the Lijiang Tower. We mentioned Control Center and how it's really good for Junkrat. It's really good for the Brawl composition. I really like Lijiang Tower as a first map, not just because of that, but because as a whole, over the 3 sub-maps of Lijiang, it's really good at being able to kind of get a read on how these teams are going to approach different scenarios, the kinds of compositions that they're going to lean on throughout the rest of the series, whether it is the close range maps of Control Center or the long range or divey compositions that you see a lot on Gardens, or Night Market, where you could really run anything and make it work if you really wanted to. It's a really great way to get kind of a read on how these teams are going to behave for the rest of the series.
Absolutely. That's the reason I love Lijiang as well, because in maps where, like in Gardens, if a team forces a TP brawl into point, you kind of get an idea of what kind of team you're kind of working with and where their strengths kind of lie compared to going for what would be, like a dive or like a ball kind of composition there. So it sets the play field essentially for both teams. And we talked about that these teams are quite familiar with each other, so there's not likely to be any surprises for either of these teams, but Lijiang is at least going to give us an idea of what these teams are going to be bringing us throughout this series and how prepared that they have been for each other's style. But yeah, like you said, Funky, going to be heading into it just a moment. Teams are readying up, and soon we'll be getting on with our grand finals. It's all coming down to this. These teams, they have fought to get here, and now it's all or nothing. It is the grand finals.
Hey, by the way, I did just take a look at the overall I'll let you go in a second, Funky Monk, but the pedigree here for Bryant-Stratton, I didn't realize just how far back it went. Fall 2022 winners, Bryant-Stratton. Spring 2022 winners, Bryant-Stratton. Fall 2021 winners, Bryant-Stratton. They're going for 4 semesters in a row today. You have to go all the way back to spring of 2021, 2 full years ago, where another team has won this event other than Bryant-Stratton College.
Undisputed.
Well, I think Blinn today has the best chance of anybody.
Oh yeah, Blinn are really going to try to dispute that as hard as they possibly can. One would imagine. Oh, have Blinn been coming second all of those years as well? Just out of curiosity?
Blinn came in second last year. I can't tell you about before that.
Ah, I see.
That'd be shame. Always the bridesmaids.
Last semester they did. Let's see. I'm looking now. So fall 2022. It was... Well, dang. It's not just going to tell me, is it? It wouldn't be that simple.
Oh, well.
No, it wasn't.
It would never be that easy.
It was St. Clair who came in second last time around. So it's not. It hasn't been an always second place, but Blinn has always been in the mix. They are coming in on the blue side of the map this time around, and we are going to be seeing in the red Bryant-Stratton College of Virginia as we start off on Night Market. Gio, tell me a little bit about these compositions that both these teams are going to lock in.
Yes, on the side of the Buccaneers, it will be looking like a Flower Mercy hitting the sky there. Not currently on the ball, but I would imagine that's what they will be going over to. If they do keep this rematch, their own rematch is going to kind of struggle in the brawl up against what Bryant have on their side, where they have a much more set brawl. They've got that Mei, they've got that Lucio, and they'll be looking to TP their entire team onto the point. So it's this very heavy brawl, setting on the point up against this poke. They want to take as little damage as they can from Swerf on the Pharaoh.
Indeed they do. Hutch just getting at an angle. Tosses the nade in. Doesn't quite manage to find its targets, but you know, this is what, you know, Blinn's comp is really all about. They want to be taking those poke battles, but unfortunately Hutch finds themselves out of position there, gets rushed down by Gimmickle, who finds the final blow. And BSC looking good position to cap first here.
I mean, Hutch
exactly what
really
you want to see.
Yeah, I mean, Hutch is in such a vulnerable position right now on the Ana, and there's no one that's really going to be available to peel for that Ana, which is why now you swap to the Kiriko, who'll be able to teleport out of the way in a pinch.
Gimmickle going very aggressive, manages to find Hutch there, manually takes out Ginger in the background there. Gimmickle finds a second onto Vader with the icicles. Have been giving everybody a bit of brain freeze today.
Yeah, Swerf hasn't been able to get too much done here on the Pharaoh, only 50% to the barrage, not a lot of spam landing. Proda going to open up nice and early with a window. Will be able to clip the wings of that Flower Mercy as they head in.
Indeed, that will be the plan for them. Ginger gets lamped there, just makes sure they can stay alive for a little bit there. Vader does take out Gimmickle, but a combination of pummels and turrets will continue to keep the push at bay.
Interestingly, we do see Swef is very close to the barrage. That could be huge, especially because there isn't much of a defensive tool right now on the side of Bryant-Stratton.
Oh no! Set just denies Ginger total access to the point. Miro's having a whale of a time there. C-pun not intended. Takes out Vader. This is looking to be a 0 to 100 here.
Yeah, 80%. It's going to be that final fight territory, and Miro does have the Annihilation, which is really going to set the tone of this upcoming fight, especially if Gimmickle on the Blizzard. It's really a lot on Swift here to get a good barrage and get some eliminations going into this final fight.
All goes out early, as does the sound barrier. It's all worth it for a trade kill onto Hutch. Swift tries it. There's just not enough damage from the barrage and too much health from the side of BSC. 0 to 100. Knuckle Bunny trying desperately to stall out this overtime, but it's not going to be enough. BSC stomping their mark on Night Market.
Yeah. That is a strong start there, and you can already start to see perhaps the differences between the teams, where we saw the Buccaneers come out there with that ball composition, looking for the poke and prod with that forward follow-up. But, you know, Bryant are very used to playing this kind of brawl. They acknowledged that the Ana of the Buccaneers was completely alone in that first fight and just rotated round, got them, went back to the point, like they were just popping out to the shops or something. So they are very aware of how to be rotating on this composition. Now the Buccaneers going to be matching them here with an absolutely mirror composition, both with the Junkrat here. No maze on the board.
Well, the difference is Vader's gone over onto the Sojourn, so they're perhaps looking for a little bit more pick potential so that they don't let the Sojourn get set up for these long fights with that level 3 beam that can just absolutely tear through a front line or a back line. It is really quite scary. BSC going for an early push. Knuckle Bunny gets found by the opposite number as Set takes them out there. Ginger finds manually, but Proto will take out Sweff. BSC looking to take this first fight again.
Yeah, Broda's a very aggressive Baptiste player, getting a triple during that fight at the very least. Exactly what you want to see from your DPS-based support. Now, the difference here is manually is still on the Symmetra. I imagine they would have swapped off of it, but keeping it allows them to have much heavier brawl than having Vader on the Sojourn. Sojourn's more of the poke here, and you can already see them losing players.
Yeah, that's a good trade in general because, I mean, Gimmickle has somewhat of the safety to be able to come back. Sweff does come back a bit quicker, but it does keep Blinn College from being able to push.
Yeah, they're struggling to get through the choke because there's just so much coming through. Perota is going to have this window ready in this next fight, but Set Miro just caught out.
Yeah, Miro just caught out entirely and just obliterated by the explosive spam from Sweff. Point flip comes through there for Blinn.
Yeah, and Blinn finally getting some percentage on the board here in Lijiang. They are going to be able to set up nicely with Hutch's window, but it's going to be a big ult fight coming in. It's going to be about if either of these Lucios can build a beat to save their team.
Sweff's looking for a bit more of an aggressive angle. Gets taken out by the turret, unfortunately. Annihilation's now traded from both teams, but Miro's finding a lot more success with his complete team wipe as BSC retake.
Yeah, it was a big ultimate fight, and it does go the way of the Bobcats. Their pace of play was just a little bit faster there than the Buccaneers, who are going to get their tires soon, but they are up against Gimmickle, who has their own, and in a defensive way can really set up whenever they want.
It's a good pick there as well. Sweff is going to look for the early tire here, delays a little bit behind this wall. Options available to them. Sweff goes in, only finds the lamp. Prota able to put it down just in time. Vader popping the overclock in response, not quite willing to give this fight up yet, and finds Set with it, forcing BSC away for a recap.
Yes, and again, taking control nicely there, and holding on to their beat in that fight, which is going to be nice for them in this upcoming fight. Gimmickle is going to use tire, and you don't really want a beat for the tire, but the beat will sustain you in the mid-fight if it continues to go long.
They will. Fantastic anti-nade there onto Miro, forces out the lamp incredibly early. Gimmickle still has the tire available, finds the trade onto Hutch after they took them out while they were still in that, you know, sort of static crouching position. Manually finds Sweff as well. A full amp speed engagement here. Ginger, 0 HP, sent back to the spawn room.
Yeah, the beat came in from Knuckle Bunny, but again, it was just a fast rotation from Bryant, who now have the percent up into the 90s here, and they have the wall from the Symmetra, the window from the Baptiste. They can build a nice little house for themselves on the point and just settle in.
But Hutcher is so close to the nano boost here, and they're going to be wanting to pop that as quickly as possible. Goes out onto the Ramatra. Annihilation popped in pure desperation to try to keep this fight going, but the other Annihilation gets popped from Miro, just blocking from Ginger there, only to be taken out by Gimmickle. And BSC take Lijiang Tower.
They're looking to do it to not be just a double crown of the day, but to continue their long reign here in NJCAAE. Dividing, what's your main takeaways there from what we've just seen?
Well, my main takeaway here is that, unfortunately, I set up Blinn College as being like that team that's going to throw something at Bryant-Stratton College that's going to take them out of their comfort zone. It's going to force them to be a little more quick on their feet and think about what they're playing a little more, try and do some counter picking. Unfortunately, it didn't quite happen, at least on this first map. We started off on Night Market, where we had a Brawl Ramatra composition going up against a ball-based composition, and Bryant-Stratton had absolutely no trouble dispatching of that. So when we went to Control Center, it was a little bit different. Again, Blinn threw something else at them, went for the Brawl Mirror, and even though it was a lot closer that time around, it unfortunately was not enough, and Bryant-Stratton still ended up winning. So when it comes down to it, Blinn now has to face this reality, at least based on this first map, that the Brawl Mirror has not gone well for you, and the Brawl versus Wrecking Ball Mirror has not gone well for you. It's not a mirror, but Brawl versus Wrecking Ball matchup has not gone well for you. So you have to try and figure out, as we head into the second map, and you have the map pick, where are you most comfortable, and where can you try and throw Bryant-Stratton off their game? Because all the momentum is on the side of the Bobcats.
Well, I'll tell you where they feel comfortable. They have picked Paraíso, BSC of Band Numbani. I think that was rather wise of them. They don't really want to be taken to a map where dive can be played, heaven forbid. But Blinn's gone for Paraíso. It's a new map for Overwatch 2. It has some Numbani-esque aspects, I'd say, and that the only real viable stuff you can run on there is dive.
I will say about Paraíso, Point B in particular is absolutely brutal as an attacker. It is, you have such an insane network of high grounds on that map. You are basically on top of all the buildings of Paraíso, just firing bullets down into the attackers as they slowly, that cart just moves so slowly down the street, and it opens you up to so much fire. I've seen so many attacks and experienced so many attacks on this map just stall out completely on Point B because the high ground play is just way too much to deal with. So yeah, an effective dive to be able to contest those high grounds is going to be key.
How do you think that Bryan College is going to work around Paraíso? Because we saw that they were very brawl heavy. So going into a map that's dive, what are you looking for the Bobcats to do here?
Yeah, I mean, I think Bryant-Stratton are going to have to play something a little bit different. We're probably going to have to see some Winston-based compositions, at least some dive-based compositions come out from them. It could be Wrecking Ball if they wanted to. Because high ground is so incredibly important, at least on points A and B, we're probably not going to be seeing exactly the same thing from Bryant-Stratton the whole time, which I think is what Blinn are hoping for. I think Blinn are thinking, hey, if we can force Bryant-Stratton off of that Ramatra-based composition and off of what seems to be their bread and butter off of that first map, hey, we might have a really great shot at tying up this series. But now I'll take it away to you guys as we head into the map.
Yes, and on the defense, we do see that the Bobcats are bringing out the Diva on the tank line. It's a very strong choice right now, very counteractive to Winston. And, you know, the Zarya is typically the counter to it, and Zarya is just very weak right now in the meta for a lot of different reasons, and obviously in this map, bringing out a Zarya would be extremely difficult as there are lots of spam coming out. That Zenyatta is going to be the heart and core of this defense, getting those discords out and Vader following up on them. And on the attack, the Bobcats really changing up not too much, keeping that Ramatra on Miro and their kind of Baptiste Lucio backline, but putting Gimmick on the Tracer, allowing a bit of flanking potential there, and manually on the Hanzo allows for a lot more longer range spam from the DPS.
Yeah, this comp from Blinn is all about being able to take angles on the Brawl comp, but Gimmickle is going to be really distracting for the backline. He's very susceptible to a kind of dive composition, which I don't seem to really be running. Mira goes for the early Nemesis form, tries to hop across, a lot of pressure going out onto Ginger. Just manages to find Vader as Vader takes out Set, but is a little bit in no man's land there. See if Blinn are able to follow up on that.
Yeah, Protogo's a little bit low. They're taking a lot down, but manually finds Swev and Funky. They're getting control of the point.
Indeed they are. It just looks like Blinn are just having to rotate away and run away from the bow of Hanzo as manually takes out 2 to clean that fight up. And BSC get the payload going.
I've touched on it before, but like the tempo, the pure speed of play coming out from the Bobcats is tripping up the Buccaneers. I'd really love to see the Buccaneers kind of speed up their reactions to these rotations, because Miro should not be getting eliminations against the likes of Vader, who has now at least swapped over onto the Tracer, and they've taken some hits on the regroup here, so they need to be careful. Really want to see them control this high ground Gimmickle on the Torbjorn, so it's double Torbjorn here in Parisia.
Here's Vader. Here for an angle to be able to blink in. Almost gets pressured out there, does have to recall manually though. So consistent in finding these backlines, has to toss out the Dragon Strike as well. Vader just looking to pressure out the point. Gimmickle's looking for the hammer kill as well before resorting back to the slag gun that he uses on the Torbjorn.
I told you, watch out for that one. Bit silly in the head, but yeah, the position that the Bobcats have right now on the high ground is so strong, even utilizing the window.
Yeah, Nano Booster D.Va though makes quick work of Prota and their attempted window play there. And the hammer kill. It happened. We've seen it. It's on stream. Clip it. Send it to your friends. Gimmickle, thanks for putting this in the montage. Gets taken out by Ginger though for the insolence on display.
Yeah, like that, like the pure mental damage that does, right? Talking about taking emotional damage, that's what happens when you get hammered by Gimmickle.
Oh, and just to cap it all off, they toss the Annihilation out as well. Knuckle Bunny tries to do damage control there. And it's actually the turret who ends up taking out Miro there, so the Transcendence was good enough to keep them alive long enough to be able to do that. Set Spin caught out in the backline here. Swift's looking to take them out as well. Just stop them regrouping with their team. Almost gets away before Hutch takes them.
And this allows a bit of a breather here. You're not under pressure on the defense. You can take your positions on the high ground and set up. And of course, Hutch is going to have this nano. It's likely going to be going on to Ginja there on the D.Va, allowing them to get nice lots of damage with those fusion cannons on the kind of counterplay to the attack, as you see Bobcats trying to force their way back onto that high ground.
Oh yeah, Nanoboost just goes straight out, and a discorded Miro is not long for this world. Has to back all the way away. Vader finding manually and Gimmickle in that process, as Ginger does a really good job of baiting that angle so that Vader can set up and go for the backline.
Yeah, and the nano was nicely utilized and it did force them back. Of course, the Bobcats coming back now. They do have this Kitsune Rush. That's going to be their core ultimate in this next upcoming fight. And Transcendence from Knuckle Bunny isn't there to counteract it yet.
Oh. Miro, though, just did not respect the Discord Orb and the spam, and Blinn are just able to clean up.
Yeah, it's exactly like Dividing was saying. Point 2 is just all high ground, and forcing the brawl here really gives you one option, and that's to go up onto the left side there. That's why you now see them swapping off. Set is going on to the Zenyatta to allow them to get those spam match that Discord, and Miro on the D.Va as well will give them a lot more high ground control. With this Kitsune Rush, they really need to utilize it in a solid position, or you can just rotate away from it.
They've put it on the ground, but it's open for the Molten Core to just completely deny all of the space. Protection Suzu having to be used. Bomb goes out onto Miro's mech, able to find it there manually. Finds themselves in some hot water there, or should I say hot lava. Gimmickle goes for the hammer kill, but Ginger is once again having absolutely none of it.
Yeah, you swapped your comp, but maybe not your mentality of approach there. A lot of your players were going low ground for the Bobcats. Pura going on to the Ana now to allow a lot more longer range heal. And of course, that anti-nade is very important. You know, you can't cleanse it anymore on your side, but you can utilize it on your attack now. Knuckle Bunny, however, has this Transcendence nano coming out.
Oh, that's fantastic there. They're able to just capitalize on the backline being very exposed there. Again, I think Miro's attention was being taken up by Vader, so this D.Va Tracer duo are doing a really good job of occupying the enemy team's attention, just so that either of them can cause havoc.
20 seconds on the board now. Attacking team, they only have defensive ultimates of their DPS, the Dragon and the Molten Core. Not very strong ultimates to say. Miro coming up to the bomb, but of course Knuckle Bunny will have that Transcendence in his final fight. Set coming up to 4 seconds on the board.
And they've just lost manually, a very sticky situation there, and that Molten Core just been completely gobbled up there by Ginger. Tosses the bomb in the air just to try to zone out the point. Will it get anything? Finds Miro's mech. Has to use that self-destruct just to remech, but Swift takes them out before they can do that. Prota trying to stall out the point as long as they can. They're doing well at that, but again, Knuckle Bunny able to just silence them with that kick manually. Again, trying to stall it into overtime for as long as they can, but it's just not going to be enough from BSC.
Yeah, the Buccaneers looking very strong there. They maybe got a little caught out by the wild attack of the Bobcats on the first point, but they settled in. They called they knew what they were doing. They knew why they picked this map. They picked it because the Bobcats seem to really like to push for the brawl. And as we've been saying, those high grounds on second point were the reason the Bobcats just struggled so hard. There was too much distance between them, and I think the adaptation onto that D.Va and the more dive composition came a little bit too late. So while their speed of play was quick, maybe their adaptation could match their speed of play, and if they do that, the Bobcats might have a bit of a better chance. On their defense, it does look like they are going to come out with, I'm going to start calling it the Bobcat comp, because they're really attached to this idea of the Ramatra. They do have the Zen Ana now, and it is a lot more of a spam composition with that Zenyatta that allows you that Discord orb to follow up. And if Greninja does come out on the monkey, they're going to absolutely feel the pain of playing a monkey into a Discord orb. I wouldn't be shocked if Greninja very quickly goes onto the D.Va instead. Vader actually looking to open up with a shot here on the Widowmaker. Curious to see if they'll stick on it, but let's see if they land it.
We shall see indeed. Vader goes for the jump shots. Unfortunately does miss. Dive engagement there. Ginger not quite finding the jump onto where they wanted to. Manually, just not in a good situation there. Does not respect the spam from Blinn and falls because of it. But Set does take out Swef there. And Gimmickel's causing a bit of havoc in the backline there and just delaying the rotation from Blinn.
Cleave damage getting done there, but forced out again. It's still equal 4-4. Defender's advantage for the attacking team.
Goes for the dive. The anti-nade is on the Ana. But the line of sight cutoff just isn't there as Ginger misplaces the bubble and it falls down to the ground, so there's no protection for him.
Yeah, both teams are going to be fully back now, but Set goes down.
Oh, and a fantastic follow-up with the nade, Swef! Finding that final blow, but I imagine the last thing that was going through Proto's mind there was, there's a monkey jumping at me and I'm anted! Ah! And then they just died because they didn't see the, molten metal coming at their forehead. Blinn College.
I'm sure.
Do a good job of capping that.
I'm sure their comms are a little bit more organized than, there's a monkey.
Oh, of course.
Yes. I'm sure that's the panic that's in the mind anyway. Yeah, 5 minutes on the board, and you really just need to get around that initial stretch there off second point, and you've got the comp to really control it, especially with the nano. It's going to be put onto your Winston nice and early here to really just take control of the high ground and control the second point all the way to the end.
Well, Vader found Gimmickle as well. That's really the difference maker, because I think Vader did have the Orb of Harmony, or certainly the Discord Orb was on Gimmickle. They don't really have that on the side of BSC, they have the Brig instead. Nano Winston Primal goes out there, Dragon Strike just to split the team up, Sleep Dart goes out onto Ginger, but it gets woken! The Primal continues, just about runs out there before they can find any particular kill value with it, and Mira finding Swef there will seal this fight.
Yeah, and incredible stuff there from Manually. That Nano Winston didn't get the value because there was no follow-up available, because the Dragon completely split the rest of the team away. Leave them alone, Manually, leave them alone. A very strong Hanzo player there. But yeah, the attacking team have got so much time and just a little bit to push out here. And yeah, that's that diva coming up from Ginja that we're talking about. If you don't have the nano engage, you're just going to get torn down completely. Knuckle with the Transcendence, they don't really have any offensive ultimates, so we walk into a bomb and a pulse bomb. Gimmickle probably going to look to open that one up early here for a chance at elimination.
And, you know, even if Blinn do try to take initiative, they've got a rallying Brigitte to deal with. Swef just making sure they can't take that high ground there, but unfortunately Gimmickle says no and pulse bombs them into oblivion. Set pops the rally as well, just gives the side of BSC a little bit of overhealth to be able to deal with this upcoming fight here. Manually going a little bit aggressive there. Miro tries to find something in the backline there. Ginger, though, falls very low, has to disengage.
Yeah, that pulse bomb was nicely utilized manually already to another dragon, and we've seen how well that can split up the attack on their push. And since they have the nano to be looking for again.
Yeah, nano boost goes out onto Ginger though. Slap dart again from Proto. They've been so good at shutting down Ginger whenever they've tried to take some kind of offensive fight. Ginger just still looking for the kill onto Manually. He's just getting all the peel in the world, but has been isolated into that smaller health pack room. Still doesn't come through there. Both bombs used there. Ginger finds Proto, though.
Yeah, that's a big opening here in his final fight. Ninja taking out the support line.
Oh, this is massive for them.
Yeah, that's going to secure it.
That's going to be it. Ginger gobbles up the pulse bomb as well, just for good measure. And Blinn seem very at home in Rio de Janeiro as they take second map in the series.
Yes, absolutely what you want to see from the team that picked it, and of course now equalizing the series. I was kind of worried in that final fight. I thought we were going to just experience Groundhog Day because the nano came in and so did the dragon from the opposing side, splitting up the team. I thought, oh no, Ninja's going to be completely alone again. But A, because they're a diva, they're more survivable, but also the team rotated around a little bit quicker there, so they weren't really caught off by the dragon dividing. Did that play out how you thought? Did anything shock you? What's your thoughts?
I'm really happy with how this has gone, because now we for sure have a game between two teams that are very competitive with each other. This was a key map for Blinn College because not only did they figure out a weakness of Bryant-Stratton, that, like, as you mentioned, they are somewhat over-reliant on that Ramatra Brawl comp, but then they exploited it by picking a map where that Ramatra Brawl comp would have a lot of trouble, a map with a lot of verticality, like Paraíso did very, very well for the side of Blinn College because, like I said, it forced them out of their comfort zone. They had to adapt. They had to go their own Diva Zenyatta based composition that was a little more able to get up to the high ground and was able to challenge Blinn College. When they were outside of their comfort zone, Blinn had the upper hand. So if Blinn wanted to reverse history and take away the 4-time championship from Bryant-Stratton, you need maps like this.
Yeah,
indeed, and it's going to be.
No, go ahead, Funky.
Oh, we've done it again. It's going to be BSC's map pick here as well. Blinn banned Circuit Royale, so BSC have opted for Route 66. There aren't really many payload maps that really lend themselves to this kind of brawl style. So do you reckon they could get away with the Ramatra on Route?
You definitely could on the defense, because you do have a pretty solid defensive shielding that you could hang up on top of Big Earl's gas station, and then just kind of, if you want to go with maybe a Hanzo instead of a Cassidy and just kind of lay down the shots with the Hanzo arrows, that would be really, really effective. On the attack, it will be a little bit harder because, especially on point B, it's not as strong as Paraíso, but there are a bunch of solid high grounds for the defense to take advantage of. And like it has already been established, I do think that Bryant-Stratton are going to be forced to play something a little bit outside of their comfort zone. They might try the Ramatra again, but especially if Blinn wants to take this map 3, go up 2-1, go up to match point, they simply have to be able to force them off of that comp again.
Yeah, for sure. They've also banned Circuit Blinn. Blinn banned Circuit before BSC picked, and is that kind of telling? Maybe they're concerned about manually on the Hanzo, who got a lot done there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they are very wary of the DPS power that Bryant-Stratton brings to the table, especially if we haven't seen any of these players pick Widowmaker before, but maybe there is a really good Widowmaker regarding in Jimical, or maybe for manually. Like you said, manually did a really great job on the Hanzo in the last map, would surely pop off again. And Jimical's Widowmaker could be solid, and Blinn might know that. Blinn would definitely know, I think, better than us. These teams have played each other several times in the past. So I think this is definitely, it's a very niche pick, obviously, because of like the one double sniper map in the game. But because Blinn was so eager to take it out of the pool, I think that means that if they hadn't done that, Bryant-Stratton would have done there.
Yeah, that's a fair enough assessment, I think. I'm still I'm actually kind of curious to see what BSC want to run here.
Going into game?
No, actually, rather, I'm more curious to see what Blinn want to run here. Just because they've shown a lot of proficiency on the dive here, and I think they might have a more fun time with that kind of Winston Diva stuff we saw them run on the Paraiso.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I think there's a very good chance here that we see a little bit of a swap in from Bryant-Stratton as we head in. But no, looks like we're going to be seeing the Ramatra. So, Funky Monk Geo, take it away.
Yeah, the Ramatra, we could poke holes in it, but also, like, play what you know. Play your strengths. And right now, the Ramatra is absolutely the strength of Ryan here. Who are looking to bring it out on their attack. Basically the exact same setup that we saw on Paraiso. And you want to see them take control of Big Earls there and take control of that high ground. It's going to struggle, though, without a Diva to help Gimmickle in those flanks. The defense again.
Hey guys, I think they want to pause, guys. I think there's a pause being asked for.
There might just be. I don't know what's gears into that.
2,
perhaps
1.
I only saw about 50 pauses go out in the chat.
Yeah, I thought it would get handled. But yeah, dividing. Looks like the side of Bryant just like to continue to play that Ramatra. They're going to bring it out here. Particularly, what do you think the rotation of that attack is going to really look like? Clearly, they have a plan, but I think they'll struggle to get control of that central high ground.
It's gonna be pretty difficult. They're gonna have to be very creative with their rotations. Whether that's going kind of up through the train car and maybe doing something like that, where you kind of go around the high ground and try and like there's a high ground that the attackers can access fairly easily, where they go up the train car and then go around. If you're trying, I'm being very vague about it, but if you play Route 66, you know what I'm talking about. Where you can get up to the high ground fairly easily, not the same central Big Earl's high ground, but at least puts you vertically on the same plane as the defenders do, so it does make attacking the high ground a little bit easier. I do think the Ramatra is going to overall struggle, especially if Blinn stays to the high ground as much as humanly possible. But give it to Bryant-Stratton. They are sticking to their guns, and it has worked really well for them on map 1. And they are, I do respect the team that is, they're still very confident despite the fact that they lost Paraiso.
Yeah, we're just going to have a little bit of a quick map restart, as the pause was indeed called. I'd be more curious to see if BSC try to rotate through that right side, around the sign near the mini, and try and go up from behind Big Earls. Because I think that evades LOS a lot better. Or maybe they could rotate underneath Big Earls and come around that side.
Tell me, was Jinja had locked in Diva, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So because of that, I mean, you don't have a massive shield to hide behind during rotations if you necessarily have to. The defense matrix has fairly limited range and what it can eat, so people are going to have to be very cognitive and use the natural cover that the map gives you in order to make solid rotations on Blinn's side.
Yeah, I think D.Va's an overall very strong pick as well, you know. Obviously, like, the monkey has really fallen out. You do see the monkey coming Brian, but more in like a banana rush scenario rather than the pure dive, just because the pure armor of the mech alongside how strong D.Va Matrix is as an ability, the D.Va's just generally the choice. And, you know, I am shocked to see that Brian are a Ramatra team. I wouldn't have really called that. It's not particularly the most popular tank line to really have as your core standard, but they're really working it well. They really know how to play around the, God forbid I say it, tempo way that the tank plays. But, you know, the fact that on Parisio attack, the first elimination was Miro finding their Ashe, that just shows that Bryant know their rotations, and they'll probably come at Route 66 with something that none of us could predict. So I'm not even going to try and throw a hat in the ring here in terms of how they'll come at it. But yeah, we're just getting things sorted. The map is going to be coming into us very shortly here. It's 1-1 in the grand finals. It's the first to 3, folks. It's all down to here. Can Bryant College be toppled off of their spot of the undisputed reigning champion of the NJCAA? I see. I messed it up, Funky. You were so concerned with it, and I messed it up there.
I was,
but yeah, it's a big matchup, and the fact that it's equal.
I'm sorry, but I have to do a quick. I do have to do a quick expose. Funky Monk before the broadcast was mumbling to himself constantly. Welcome back to the NJCAA, the NJCAA.
Yeah,
Dude,
it's a lot of letters.
It's a lot of. I will.
It's a lot of letters.
A lot of letters. It was trying. It was just making sure. So
5 is a lot in the first place, but to add the esports onto the end of it, come on.
Was putting so much effort into making sure that you wouldn't mess it up. I thought it was really funny. Okay, we're back in the game. We got the map restart. Same comms on both sides. Gentlemen, take it away.
Yes.
Different time of day, though.
Enjoying. Oh, maybe that's why they restarted. maybe
perhaps,
they wanted the daytime. Yeah, I mean, unlike a gamer to prefer the day. But there is no grass on this map to be wary of touching. Sweff on the Junkrat enjoying the Surf and Splash skin. I think the Junkrat generally is very good at dealing with Sombra, who's coming into play a lot more. But in terms of dealing with what Bryant have, it's the kind of spam from afar on this off angle, and then the ability to, even when they push up and go into the brawl, be able to utilize that secondary fire and get those shotgun blasts in.
Indeed, we're gonna see them take that little high ground section that Dividing was talking about earlier through that rail card. Put a lot of pressure on Ginger, force them to come back to just get healed up and play around that big Earls section of the map. Early recall forced out, manually finds the turret of Sweff. Dynamite goes in though. Immortality field out. Oh! That's not what you want to find in your cereal, as manually takes out Vader there with a Storm Arrow headshot.
Yeah, I think if I put cereal in a bowl and there was an arrow in it, I'd be quite concerned. Manually continuing to be very strong there on the Hanzo has forced them back again. Another pause being called, it seems, as Ginja is just holding so far forward and just not getting any congestion, really.
Yeah, no, they're not really able to do it from that high ground there. Players seem a little bit confused. They're not quite sure what they're supposed to do here. Ginger just has to fly away there. Gimmickle, though, takes full advantage, finds Hutch. So, you know, no flexibles on both sides, I guess. Gimmickle going absolutely ham, finds 3 there.
Yep. This looks like there's another pause coming out.
One player
yeah,
is having issues.
Player's a little confused there. I'm a little confused there. I think we're all a little confused, but we'll trust the admins to sort things out there. But yeah, so far it's a very kind of slow push for the side of the Bobcats, who yet again are just relying on setting up their DPS like manually in a great position, and as we saw, being able to duel against the Ashe. What do you think, Funky, that we're going to continue to see here from the defense? Do you think we'll see any hero adaptations?
I mean, not especially. I think if you are running like a Torb Anazen, you want that Torb to be peeling for that Anazen against like backline threats like the Tracer. But I noticed that Gimmickle saw Prota calling for a pause and was like, oh, no sweat, I'll just take out both their supports and their Torb. And you know what? I'll just do that. And he did.
I mean, you know...
No sweat.
I mean, no love
just even
war,
things
right?
up a little bit there.
Yes, I'm sure things will get sorted out and the players will agree to a compromise. But yeah, Route 66 getting off to a way where Bryant continue to play what they're strong at, what they're comfortable at, and it just continues to work. I mean, when you're, you know, a team like Bryant and you're just winning championships left, right, and center, you know, you're the big guy wherever you go, like, you force everyone else to adapt to what you play. That's the idea. They have a very kind of forceful, kind of confident presence in that way, you could say.
Yeah, no, they really have set the tone for almost every single game they've been in, with you know, maybe the little exception of Paraiso there, where they seemed a little bit on the back foot, but I mean, they didn't even have map pick there. They could only ban one map, and they chose to ban Numbani, which, I mean, fair play to them. I don't know about you, I don't really want to force Ramatra on Numbani, particularly.
Yeah, that seems like an absolute horror show to imagine. But yeah, we're getting back into it, the end of a fight that went for the way of the Bobcats, folks, if you remember before that brief interlude. There will be no touching, and we'll be heading to the second point. No adaptations on either side so far, so Bobcats continuing to push up that pressure. Now, of course, you want to try and take control of the central area or on the right there. It's important that you get control of the high ground, so you do set up manually for success, or they just do it like that.
Yeah, Ginger, hot on the case there, takes out manually, but I mean, you got to be doing that a lot earlier if you want to stop them from having any impact on the fights. I mean, BSC have already gotten their rotation in, and while Swef does manage to find Gimmickle, Prota has to use the Immortality Field there. Isn't able to quite save Miro, who I believe backed out of it there. So Blinn are just able to restabilize here and hope that they don't fall victim to another errant arrow from manually.
I mean, yeah, it was a great counter rotation there from the defense of the Buccaneers, and that's what you want to continue to see more of with this mobile composition that they have. Big, heavy ult fight coming out, but Vader opens up early. Immortality Field didn't ready up in time.
It still died, though. I didn't know it could die mid-cast, but okay, I guess, sure, that's not something I've seen before.
Maybe it died in transit, in the very small transit it had. But yeah, big ult fight coming out here. And in that case, I like to just focus on the support line. The Knuckle Bunny does have that Transcendence to keep their team alive. Beat on the side from Set.
Awesome. Yeah, sound barrier engagement there. Self-destruct tossed into the air by Ginger. Remech only manages to find the lamp, I'm afraid, but Swef with that Molten Core will force manually back to the spawn room. Ginger finds two there. Once again, we're seeing Blinn able to sort of really stabilize themselves on these second points where BSC are having to go for elaborate rotations just to find a single pick.
Yeah, and that's the issue with their composition, but every time I talk bad about them, Manu gets an elimination like that.
Yep, no, that doesn't really help you if you're Blinn. I mean, you've lost your Zenyatta now. Blinn looking to restabilize yet again with another miracle fight, but doesn't seem to be going their way as Vader falls. I mean, I don't think BSC can take this ultless.
Yeah, they are looking to do so, you know, trying to get as dry as possible, utilizing manually on the handle just to get eliminations. Like, manually is an ultimate in himself. But of course, they were going to have this window to set up nicely here. The Dragon finds Hutch.
Yeah, and it just keeps Blinn on that respawn train. Of course, Vader eventually has to put a stop to manually, but that's after BSC have just cleaned up this fight. They're able to cap third. They've got a decent time bank and an annihilation.
Yeah, that's a pretty good fight win for them. The reason why is, like you said, Miro has annihilation. And when you get to these final corners here, you need to be contesting the point as a defense, then that annihilation is just going to be running for its complete full time. Now, Ninja has said, screw it. Fine, you want to play Ramatra, I'll do it myself. Has went on to the tank them there. Is going to have the nano very soon from Hutch. Set does not have a beat to counteract said aggression. So,
oh, that was a lovely rotation. It is a shame that Miro did fall, but when you're an all-in tank like Ramatra, you just kind of forget that the block button even exists, and I'd say this is a rather worthy trade, as you do get a lot of payload progression for it. Ginger is not stopping there, going all the way into that backline. Gets a little caught out there, Nano Boost having to be used on them. Annihilation, though, does come out from Miro. Will fade away, as Blinn were able to rotate away in time, but the picks are just continuing to roll in from BSC.
Yeah, and if they're able to touch here, they are going to be up against the Molten Core of Gimmickle here, as well as the Dragon.
As well as, you know, Manuely's Hanzo in general. Gimmickle finding two there, one with the turret. And yeah, BSC having a very good attack there.
Yeah, that was a strong final stretch. They utilized those ultimates in a nice clean rotation of course, that annihilation being that core of it, which allowed them to have those point control ultimates, the Molten Core and the Dragon just split up the team of the Buccaneers when trying to come back in it. And of course, you know, it's hard to be a Buccaneer in a desert. There ain't no water for your ship. You know, you're not trained for this. So, but of course, you know, that's probably why the Bobcats picked it. And the Bobcats, they could be native to these areas, and I am now just talking out of my backside because I know nothing about the native species of Bobcats.
I mean, maybe
for Overwatch.
Maybe the reason that the Buccaneers did so well in Paraíso is because Rio de Janeiro is a coastal city, and so they're close to an available port. They were able to get some, you know, pirate reinforcements.
Yeah, we're seeing it now. We're seeing it now.
More water equals more win, it seems.
I mean, yeah, hashtag hydrate. You know, hydration is extremely important. Not salt water, but water nonetheless. It's pretty much the same setup here. Gimmickle not on the Tracer, though on the Torb, matching it. We've seen Gimmickle get hammer kills, so I imagine the Gimmickle might try and get that Eagle boost of a hammer kill yet again. Attacking side going for a very banana rush setup, but again, Swift sticking on that Torbjorn, likes to play it.
Yeah, seems to be very comfortable of it, perhaps trying to ward off any potential flankers. Oh, manually! Just manually inserting that sonic arrow into the skull of Knuckle Bunny there. Gimmickle finds Vader as well, and I mean, BSC are set up for a good defense here.
Yeah, I mean, the name is manually, but it just looks automatic how clean these shots are. The defense holding strong on this forward high ground with the Ramatra really forces the defenders to think twice about going for that dive onto the back line, because it opens up their own back line to the aggression of the Hanzo and the Ramatra.
Manually. Manuel's got a lot of space to work with, because there isn't really much pressure being exerted on them by Blinn, just because of the amount of peel that Manually has available just by being so close to their tanks. I mean, they're, you know, looking to be dove on now. Ninja just going all the way in, almost loses mech for it, but does set up an angle for Vader to find Set, but again, Manually continues to find these trades and picks.
Yeah, and it's just struggle from the attacking side. There's so much healing going on to Miro. They really be getting these backlines. Manually went so low there, kept it up. The rush comes out.
Yeah, and that you can't be letting Manually live because they just find Vader. Kitsune Rush comes out as well, does force, as you said, BSC to back away, but not while Manually is in the game, it seems. Set finding that final blow onto Ginger. 2 minutes left on the clock. And Blinn haven't even got to first yet.
Yeah, we're getting to the point where we might want to see some adaptations from the side of the attacking team of Buccaneer. Bringing out the Diva does help, but there's full ultimates from the side of the Bobcats right now, and they can rotate these nicely. You can open up for window or just speed in with your Annihilation.
Self-destruct in. Does damage Proto quite a lot, but not enough to force out the Immortality field. Dragon Strike comes through as well, isolates Knuckle Bunny. Gimmickle finds Swef early and makes Manually back up into the Molten Core. So Ginger's just able to take them out with the micro missiles there. Now Manually's not in the fight, but there's still loads of ultimates available for BSC. Sound barriers out from both teams. Molten Core and Annihilation from BSC. Stick goes out onto Mirror, takes away a large chunk of that health. And the final blow does go to Ginger.
Yeah, that stick was nice. It was like playing tag. Just boop, you're it. Window completely nullified there by the wall of Swef, who is on the May. It's worth to note. It's going to make it a lot harder for the brawl of Miro and that front line of the defenders. I think that's actually a quite keen pick there from them.
Nano Boost now on to Ginger, looking for those all-important picks. Gimmickle, though, finds Knuckle Bunny, but gets traded out there by Vader. Proto just trying to keep themselves alive, but unfortunately can't heal up the antied Miro. Manually, just doing Manually things, finds Hutch, looks to find somebody else before being taken out by the rest of the team. Blinn able to finally cap first.
Yeah, this May pick is great because you still have the spam of the Icicle, but also once things get up and close with Miro, you can wall them off from their healing. You can force them into a terrible position with that wall, and then get up and close with that blaster there that will slow down the movement. Meanwhile, they're getting discorded, they're getting antied. I think this is a great comp the Buccaneers have found to counteract what Bobcats have been playing.
Yeah, Blinn, again, I love this angle here from Ginger as well, because it just forces so much damage onto Miro and just delays that kind of rotation, and it allows Hutch time to rotate away. Manually, though, finds Swef early, so Miro can't worry about being walled off anymore. The spam still goes into Ginger's mech.
Manually, finding Hutch, bomb comes out. It's a long prolonged fight here, but the brawl on point now. Gonna force them
Miro
back.
Miro keeping the distance there, doesn't want to overextend on the Ramacha for fear of the aforementioned wall. They have a window and a Dragon Strike though, so BSC look to set up to create a lot of space here. Blizzard comes in as well, looks to find Gimmickle, manages to do just that as Hutch takes them out with the Biotic Grenade. Pulse Bomb goes in, finds the lamp, does beta out. It's pretty good there for Blinn. But Manually, they've just given them so much time to be able to hit those shots. Only a minute remaining now, and BSC look poised to hold this. They have so many ults online.
Yeah, a bit of a split nature from the attacking side right now, and it's not really working in their advantage. If you play a little closer together, a little tighter to play around the May, you might be able to get Miro out of it quite quickly. Now, 40 seconds on the board here, and you're facing Annihilation, you're facing the beat. There's a lot to hold in here for the defense and to control the area. You want to try and force the beat out nice and early, and utilize this nano on Greninja to the backline to try and suffocate the healing of the defense.
Ravenous Vortex is out, so they don't really have to worry about being caught out there. Ginger goes in. Miro, though, finds Knuckle Bunny before the Transcendence is able to be used, and still no. Nano finally comes out there. Slam goes in. Proto, such low HP. Sniper Monkey manages to find them. Looks for another pick as well, but that Molten Core will shut off basically the entire point. 5 seconds until overtime. Soundbarrier used by Set, and Miro still has that Annihilation to be able to deny space.
Oh, Ninja goes down in overtime. It's terrible. They do have the Transcendence to try and hold in here, but they're going to be up against Annihilation once Miro sets up here.
Indeed they are, and Miro's just content to hold on to it for as long as they need to, and frankly, that's going to work out pretty well for them.
Yeah, I'd say so. As BSC take it to 2-1 in the series with their map pick of Route 66, and they were holding in very strong for both points, but particular second, and manually yet again just controlling the field as Hanzo in every aspect of the way. It's exactly why Circuit was banned from the other side, because they didn't want manually to get away with a Hanzo like this. So far, a very back and forth grand finals. Briefly we'll talk, dividing before we go to a short break. What was your main takeaways there from the Route 66?
Dividing, you're muted.
Oh, I'm muted. Hey guys.
That's the issue.
No worries. Hey, sometimes it be like that. My main takeaway, especially when it came to Blinn's attack, is just like you said, not only did they not want to go to Circuit Royale because they were scared of Manuel's Hanzo, they didn't seem confident in playing a long-range DPS to respond to it at all. The fact is they went Tracer, they went Torbjorn, and eventually the Torbjorn swapped over to a Mei, but regardless of what DPS they ran on their attack, Manuel was very easily just able to keep his distance and take pot shots at the Blinn College squad basically for free. And so I feel like that was the main thing, that damage that was pretty much guaranteed for Bryant-Stratton, because Manuel had very, very little resistance from Blinn, direct competition to do so. Unfortunately, I think consistently gave Bryant-Stratton a damage advantage in that third map. And now Bryant-Stratton find themselves just one map away from being able to take home the NJCAA title for, like I might have mentioned once or twice, the 4th time in a row.
And their second title in a day. We're going to be seeing if they're able to do that on the push map that will be coming just after this 3-minute break. So please do not go anywhere. Welcome back to the NJCAA Esports Spring Season Overwatch Grand Finals. The BSC Bobcats are 2-1 up over the Buccaneers. And we're going into map number 4, which will be Push, which could be the final map of the day.
Yes, it's intense. The Bobcats are looking to continue their reign of dominance over the seasons, over the years of this tournament, and of course, overall, as they've also won tournaments in other areas, even just today. But yeah, it's not one-sided. It's very back and forth so far, and now we're in the point where it's the Buccaneers to choose another map. They've only got 2 to choose from. It's Collegiate or it's New Queen Street. Which one do you think suits their playstyle more, Dividing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually a little bit sad that Esperanza is unfortunately banned from today's grand final. I think it makes sense because there are some pretty serious bugs that can be exploited on that map, but of the 3 push maps, I would argue that is the one that is the most open and is the one that will best suit that playstyle. It has the most oppressive high grounds that we saw them really take advantage of on Paraiso, the one map that they've won up until now. So unfortunately, the best option for Blinn in this scenario has kind of been taken away from them. So when it comes between New Queen Street and Coliseo, I would expect they would go with New Queen Street. I think Coliseo is very much a brawl-centric map right now. People really like playing up close and personal. The map geometry, the way that it kind of loops into itself on both sides of the map, makes it very easy for close range compositions to close distance on each other very, very quickly. So because of that, New Queen Street is kind of the all-rounder of the 3 push maps that we have in the game right now. You can definitely run the Ramatra and make it work, but you can also definitely run compositions that kind of play around the high grounds. You go into the buildings of Canada, you head into those train cars, and you do some poking and prodding, and I think that is most likely what Blinn is going to be after here. I personally would be pretty surprised if they chose Coliseum.
Yeah, this seems like a bit of a rock and a hard place here for Blinn. I mean, either you pick New Queen Street and you get run over by a Ramatra comp, or you pick Colosseo and give so much high ground over to Manuel's Hanzo.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what they can pull out of the bag.
It is going to be at New Queen Street this time around. Blinn have their tournament hopes on the line here. They have to win this one to take us to a map 5. Bryant-Stratton with the opportunity to win once again for the second time today. Second league win of the day on the line if they win this one. Gentlemen, over to you as we go into the streets of Canada.
Shock and horror, Miro is on Ramatra. Who could have predicted such an outcome? But yes, it's 2-1 here. If Bryan College, if the Bobcats can win here, they will secure themselves yet another final win here in NJCAA. And it's the ball composition coming out from the side of the Buccaneers. More of a spam based ball composition, so set up that backline in a nice far away place and just pummeling in damage from afar, while the Tracer and Ball of Ninja and Vader try and do their best here up against the brawl composition of the Bobcats.
Oh, Ginger's already been found out, can't even go for a roll through, has to just slam in, forced away there after having their adaptive shields baited out. Tries to boot Miro in, but that tank passive isn't doing Ginger any favors. Has been forced away there. Vader's having a rough time following up on any of this. Again, just denied by the boop.
Yeah, the boop is going to be big here in, as you said, denying the ball. But, you know, the brawl composition of the Bobcats here can just sit on point here and just set up and make that their home, which means they're always pushing this objective.
Yeah, no, I mean, the Buccaneers really have to wait for an opening that I just feel like BSC don't want to give to them at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we're coming in here, and Hutch is going to have the Nano, which, if you put onto Ninja, could win them that duel up against Miro, as they're getting very close to the spot scratch here, and you cannot let them get it.
Miro goes in. Nanoboost goes out onto the Zen. Manually pops the Deadeye onto Vader as well. Almost a full team wipe. Ginger retreating back into spawn once again.
Yeah, this is a disaster for the Buccaneers. This early in the match with 8 minutes to go, and that forward spawn is unlocked for the side of the Bobcats, and that's a situation that's really difficult to get back from.
Kitsune Rush goes in as well. Vader beaten black and blue by Miro's pummeling. BSC are just having their way today.
Yeah, they really are, and if they can keep the snowball up, then they could just win it out in a single consistent push here and just dominate the offense. Man,
that's another stagger.
Oh, it's horrible. The Buccaneers are really on the back foot right now. The Bobcats, their teeth have been sunk in deep, and this Annihilation is ready to secure this corner.
Annihilation and Sound Barrier. You know, just in case, right? Just in case. Annihilation comes out there, forces so many cooldowns. The Lamp as well. Hutch is not long for this world. Sound Barrier used just to keep this fight going after Miro gets taken out. That bot's still moving.
Oh man, on the back foot so heavily. Ninja's Annihilation didn't get much done there. Now you're panicking. You've got High Noon, which can create you some time, but this is so close to being it. This will be the final fight potentially, and Proto is so close to Kitsune Rush. In fact, they're backing up. They know that. The Bobcats want Proto to build this out.
Window comes out there as well. Proto, though, finds Vader on the angle, but Ginger, not content, finds Set. Deadeye comes out, just about manages to find Hutch. But Blinn are finally finding the picks that they need in order to turn this fight in their favor. But it is a tall order. 6 minutes on the clock for them. But they've really got their backs up against the wall here.
Yes, they do, and it's a big wall. They now need to win all the fights that they can in a row to try and equalize this. They still have the forward spawner instead of Bobcats.
Indeed they do. Manually, the brunt of all of that damage. Kitsune Rush, though, from Proto will give the Bobcats a lot of sustain in this fight, as they find Hutch as well. Vader takes out Set. The wall is used there. Miro having to Nemesis form again. A lot of burst damage going into them, though, and does get taken out by Ginger's pummeling. Lots of trades in this fight. Manuely's finally respawned and finds Vader. Annihilation popped! Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you need it. You really need this fight win. You need to get it past that middle point and at least stop the spawn advantage of your opponents.
Boss Bomb goes out there, but unfortunately, Gimmickle not having fun there, doesn't find it. Miro goes for the Nemesis form, has the Annihilation available, uses it to get that armor reset, but that freeze is going to be absolutely brutal. As finally, so close, the forward spawns are so close to being denied. And finally, Blinn are able to get the barricade pushing, but they have 4 minutes and 30 seconds left, Gio.
Yeah, it's not going to be straight sailing either, because you're going to be coming up to that High Noon of Manually and this Kitsune Rush of Proto very shortly. You want to utilize this Nano as soon as possible here to try and secure yourself your own forward advantage.
That's a lovely Ravenous Vortex as well. Pulls Miro all the way down. There's not enough healing in the world to save you from a nano-boosted Ramatra. Miro, though, does take out Vader in the process, escaping on barely any health whatsoever. Manually finds Knuckle Bunny as well. Gimmickle running rampant in the backline, looking to evade this final blow, but Ginger not fast enough.
Yeah, it was a nice usage of the Nano there from the side of the Buccaneers, but unfortunately, one step too far forward caught them caught out, and now with the control of the point are the Bobcats. They've got this beat to sustain themselves against Ninja's Annihilation, as well as coming up to their own Kitsune Rush.
Ninja goes all the way in. Annihilation goes out there after the Kitsune Rush gets forced. Ooh! 2 fall before the sound barrier is cast.
Yeah, that's a tough one for Set, but ultimately that was just a nice, quick engage there from the set of Buccaneers. You can start to feel the fear of this grand final slipping away from them. There's a little bit more energy behind their plays, and they're not fully grouped up here, so they're going to need to be careful in how they take this one. They're very close to this blizzard.
Kitsune Rush used there the extra attack speed, lets Nero beam down Knuckle Bunny with that Void Accelerator. Ginger blocking for their life, but attacked from all angles.
2 minutes 30 on the board. Such a stark advantage for the side of the Bobcats, and the rest of the team here, they're going to get caught out.
Yep, they found Swef just unawares, and they're more than happy to take out the rest of the team while Swef cowers in an icicle.
Well, they're now in the spawn. And yeah, forward spawn unlocked, like you said. The Blizzard is ready from Swef, as well as the beat from Knuckle Bunny to sustain himself in this fight. But it's all about this Annihilation coming out from Miro and the advantage they can bring the set of the Bobcats.
Wall Goes out early, but now Miro doesn't have to worry about it being used to deny Annihilation. Line of sight. Such low HP, though. Blizzard goes in as well. Miro just cannot sustain through all of that damage with but Kiriko and Lucio heals.
Yeah, the Buccaneers are holding and they've battened the hatches and they're ready for the storm. They only have less than 90 seconds now to match the amazing lead that the opponents have of the Bobcats. They need to win this next fight if they want to unlock their forward spawn. They've got the nano to do it.
Ninja goes in, tries to capitalize on the anti-nade there. Deadeye doesn't find much there from Manually, if only to zone them out for a little bit there. But Ginger, nano boosted, has an Annihilation available, finds Gimmickle. Able to push forth here. Just not having fun as the wall blocks them away. We could be seeing Blinn able to find these forward spawns with 45 seconds left on the clock, Gio.
As the storm began to part, the forward spawn has been activated, and there's less than a minute to go. We're in 30 seconds, but now the overtime the spawns are going to come in. That overtime does tick up your time to respawn, so if you go down here for the side of the defense, it could be tough.
Manually's back on the hands. Oh no, he's trying to win, but gets taken out there by Ginger, even after the Kitsune rush gets used. BSC, though, still able to find the picks without the aid of Manually, but perhaps overextend a little bit there as Miro falls very low. It has built the Annihilation, however, as we head into overtime. It's just Vader on this point, trying desperately to keep it alive.
And it does seem like lightning strikes more than once. The Bobcats just need to clean it up. And here you have it, folks. The Bobcats have secured themselves the grand finals yet again. Two-time finalists winners of today and a consistent finalist of all NJCAAE. This is your undisputed champions. The Bobcats continue
Coming to
just look as strong as
5,
ever.
4, 3, 2.
Yeah, no, the Bobcats just had an incredibly dominant performance there on New Queen Street. And even when it looked like, you know, the Buccaneers were going to be able to perhaps make some kind of a comeback, the lead was just entirely insurmountable.
And I just feel like when it came down to it, Bryant-Stratton, while I had kind of characterized them as this sort of Ramatra one-trick comp team, you do have to give credit where it's due. They've clearly spent a lot of time learning this composition and getting very, very good at it. And because of that, if Blinn is going to try and run a Ramatra comp into Bryant-Stratton's Ramatra comp, they better make sure that they are on their A game, or else they are surely going to lose to a team that is as consistent as Bryant-Stratton is. And unfortunately, when it comes to push, going down about 120 meters to 0 within the first couple minutes of the map, it is an almost insurmountable hole to dig yourselves out of. And try as the Buccaneers did, Bryant-Stratton were able to hold on to that lead for the rest of those 10 minutes. So
Yeah.
Bryant-Stratton continue their stranglehold over the junior college scene.
Yeah, I mean, like, just to think about that, it was 8 minutes remaining when they got their forward spawn, and it was only the next fight after that where it was looking like they could finish the map in as clean a sweep as that. And they were looking to just, I mean, you could tell, these players, they're not paid by the hour. They're not looking to sit here for long. They just want to get it nice and done and just speed through. But, you know, I have to give credit where credit is due. For Buccaneers to hold in after that point for as long as they did is actually quite commendable. It's definitely worth saying, you know, yes, they didn't get the win here, but hey, they definitely earned this second place spot, and you can tell their heart is in it, and definitely not a team to snub at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think I definitely want to make sure for all the Blinn... Sorry, I cut you off, Funky, but I just want to make sure that for any Blinn supporters, that are in the chat right now, this is a solid team. Bryant-Stratton have the pedigree. They've been on top for a long time. It's going to take a crazy effort to knock them off of that throne. But Blinn have come as close, I would say closer, than any team ever has over the course of like since Bryant-Stratton had gotten to NJCAAE. And while you might say, oh, all that for a drop of blood, all you did was take one map off, it goes to show that the competition in this tournament is only getting more and more intense. Teams are now rising up to the challenge and improving their esports organizations to challenge Bryant-Stratton. And I wouldn't be shocked if there are more teams other than Blinn that are going to rise up over the next year and also challenge for that position.
I mean, I'm just impressed at Blinn's mental, you know? I think after having like six and a half solid minutes of being absolutely mullered and just not getting like a single bit of progression on the bot, to be able to come back like that and even secure a forward spawn, I take that as a victory, honestly.
Absolutely. I mean, not only does it show heart, but it shows determination. And like Divided was saying, you know, the pool is just getting more and more competitive. And, you know, while Bryant have been a consistent champion here, I think the more skillful the top is, the more it motivates the rest of the team and those around them, and you can tell that from Blinn. Yes, it may be a drop blood now, but that David and Goliath story does end with David on top, and the bigger they are, the bigger the fall. Bobcats are on top right now, but I think one of the stories coming out of this season is who can be the one? Who can be the team that can come in here and take Bobcats off of their pedestal?
Absolutely.
So far, it's no one.
Indeed.
Yeah, so far no one.
No.
It's a pretty one-sided story so
Wrap
far,
one
but I mean, this has been a great broadcast. You know, Funky, we've seen an incredible two teams here, but there's the Bobcats, who are our grand final winners.
Indeed, and with that, our usefulness as a broadcast is over. It is concluded. We are done here. But thank you all for tuning in. Yeah, we just cease to exist the moment the stream ends. We're figments of your imagination.
I could help you with your math homework or something.
Yep, Gio's already gone. But yeah, in all seriousness, thank you all so much for watching and being with us throughout the stream and the pauses and even the technical difficulties sometimes. It's been a wonderful pleasure to be able to cast for you all today, and we'll see you around next season.